Awesome. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to pivot. And Anthony, I'm very glad to have yourself and Bianca and Amy here. Just to remind everyone that today I asked everyone what they wanted to focus on as the learning sessions. And the two that came to the top were the 16 mega trends, which I did about 2 weeks ago. And then today I've got an entire presentation put together for exponential technologies. I do acknowledge that today is running longer. And so if people can't make the exponential technology, I will do a rerun of it. So just to let you all know, I knew that today would be a challenge with all the things. So I'm going to be, once I'm done now with Anthony, Bianca, and Amy, then I will be doing this. I'm really excited about it. I've put an entire presentation together. I was trained in this at Singularity University in 2016, and it's amazing to see what's happened over the last 10 years around exponential technology and exponential organizations, and specifically exponential organizations 10x other companies. So it's really useful to know what is going on and how it works. But what I want to do before we go there is I want to share with everyone, part of the mastermind, something that we've been working on. The first time we worked on this, Bianca and Anthony and myself and Alex and the whole team got together, and Garth was there and Karen was there and everyone, and we were like, what is the mastermind? Where is it going? And how do we evolve it? How do we add value? What are some of the bottlenecks or the constraints? What are some of the gaps? And if when we got together in probably the sort of July, August, September of 2022, we pretty much embarked on a journey. We said to everyone, right, this is not a course. We're going to evolve it as we go along. We're going to figure out what's working. We're going to figure out what's not working. But our consistent aim is always to add value and to help people get results. So that's the objective. Saying that, things came up. So as an example, at the Wealth Weekend, and many of you have heard this before, but at the Wealth Weekend in March, Anthony was like, oh, we've got a thing for our family office called the Enneagram and Wealth. And I was like, what? Like, we only got 5 steps. What happened to that step? So things have evolved, and we've added, and it was like, oh, wow, that's a really important component. And I know even at the family office, there's been a huge amount of work done with the Enneagram and Wealth and how that links in with the portfolio construction and ultimately about enhancing people's portfolios, but in a personal way. And then one of the other things that's been a big challenge is that the generational wealth space. So pretty much almost without fail, almost every single person that I talk to when I do the one-to-one session at some level has their family, their children, maybe even their children's children. And they're like, right, what do we do? What do we do around financial literacy? How do we actually have these conversations around finance? How do we set up a roadmap and have planning for our families, et cetera, to do this in a structured way, not just in a random way. So that came up, and it's been something that we've been trying to kind of solve and add value for people. I know also for Anthony and Garth, and they've got a team of people behind them, but a lot of people have asked us, like, also, how do we manage, like, what does it mean? Like, Anthony, I'm part of the mastermind. Are you on speed dial? Can I phone you at 8 o'clock on a Sunday because the market's crashed or whatever? And the answer is, we got to find a reasonable middle road, because the mastermind is a collaboration and a value add, but also we've got to make sure that it's sustainable in terms of just the time and the energy and obviously the value, the what's it called, the value transfer, or not transfer, what's it called, back and forth. But anyway, the value transfer probably. So that's on that component. And then equally down to my side, some people like doing the group coaching and they're kind of happy with it, and others have said no. They want to sit down, they want to do the one-to-one, they want to do it in a much more structured way, they want to have personal accountability, et cetera, et cetera. So multiple different facets have come to the table. And it's been something that, it's taken us basically the best part of 6 months to put together. And so what I've asked Anthony to do, and Bianca's kindly joined us, and I think what I should try and do is get everyone's cameras up. So let me just try and find everyone here to join us, because it's really a team of people that is behind us here. So there's Bianca. How do I add Bianca? So add a pin. There we are. Bianca's joined us. And Amy, let's add a pin. Right, Amy has joined us, but not camera on. So anyway, Amy, when you're ready. Anyway, so firstly, I just wanted to welcome the four of you and just say, firstly, thank you so much for all being here. I know it's Bianca, you're in the middle of a presentation. Amy, you're in the middle of your holidays. Anthony is trying to deal with a world crisis and Trump trying to blow up the market. So, I really appreciate all of you being here. And I think what I'd like to do is firstly to say hello to all of you. And then my philosophy would be to go through the 9 steps so that we go through it in a logical way. And at each step, I'm just going to stop and then give you the chance just to talk it through. And then at the end, if anyone's got any questions, we can kind of just go through questions and understanding. Is that cool? Any comments or thoughts up front before we get going?
Scott, I don't know if I misplanned my diary, but unfortunately I'm going to have to leave at 10 o'clock. I've got another meeting starting.
Okay, so you're now going to completely cock up my timing, but let's reverse it because you're probably actually the easiest, to be honest. So let's reverse engineer this then. So do me a favor. I'm going to have to get clever here. So let me just jump through this very quickly. So we're going to go straight down to step 4. So yeah, step 4. So under step 4 is where you do your portfolio health check. And what we basically have put together is that the 6K Club, the idea is that you have the ability to meet with Anthony once a year, and then at the 12K it's meeting with Garth. So the difference is Anthony and Garth, and then the next one was the portfolio optimization, which is step 5, and that's the whole where you've got your portfolio construction, the Enneagram and wealth, the individual circumstances, and the plan. So you've all got your plan in terms of this process. And again, at step 5, what we've put down here is where Anthony, so you annually check in once, at the 6K Club, you annually check in where you're at, what's happened with the plan, are you on track? And then at the 12K, a number of people have said, no, they would like to do it more regularly, or they'd like to meet with Garth. So what we've said is at the 12K, Garth will be doing the annual check-in, and Anthony will be doing the quarterly check-in. So let me just stop sharing, Anthony, and then just pivot to you, because I know you got a duck. What does that mean just in terms of your understanding, and why is that important for people? And I'll explain the gate, because I was in business, I learned a long time ago, it's important to have a gate so that people can know exactly what is agreed and what's not agreed, and it's not left in the gray,
Yeah, I mean, Scott, happy for you to go ahead and share it. I think for me, it's about understanding how the portfolio is performed, kicking the tires, and making sure that on an annual basis, the necessary reviews are done, and again, just kind of benchmarking to what was originally discussed and constructed at the beginning.
Yeah, and I think so. And I mean, I think just in terms of the 12K, my understanding is that you and Garth work closely as a team. So what would happen is you would sit in the annual session and then allow people to have the quarterly check-ins. So it's like, right, what's happening on track, etc. To rather than waiting a year, you would have the quarterly check-ins to be able to finalize that, basically.
Yeah, 100 spot on.
So I know it's pretty sort of black and white for everyone, but if anyone's got any questions, let me know. But it's probably the one that I can answer the easiest, Anthony. So
yeah,
because I know what you do compared to Bianca and Amy is a little bit more. I need their help more than I need yours. So okay, well look, I really appreciate you. I'll run through the full 9 steps for everyone now. But I really appreciate you being here, and thank you for your time. And you didn't get your diary wrong, by the way. I didn't think we would get such a thorough market update from you, so I really appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Okay, so let me pivot back then, and if you don't mind, ladies, I'm going to do it in the order of logic so that we go back to the 9 steps, and we don't start at step 4, because I feel a little bit dyslexic and getting it the wrong way around. But so let's just remind everyone of what are the 9 steps and how we're doing it. So these are the 9 steps that we've evolved. It's by working closely with the Calio team, the collective Calio team, and saying, right, what are all the important steps that someone needs to go through to create the generational wealth? And it's a framework that we built in collaboration between our team and their team. And we basically said, right, there's phase 1, which is the setup. Okay. Then we got phase 2, which is the planning. And we got phase 3, which is the results. So each and every person that's part of the mastermind goes through these 3 phases. And it might look daunting, but in simple terms, and I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. In simple terms, all we're trying to do is we want you to figure out, where do you want to be? What is the goal that you're trying to achieve? Then we're helping you figure out, where are you? Then we're helping you build a plan to get from A to B. And then most people have a plan, they don't work the plan. So we check in every month with accountability to help you work the plan. And then ultimately, it's about the knowledge, like you're learning all the way through while you're working the plan, but it's about getting the results. But in simple terms, the results are, this is where you want to be, and the results are getting you to where you want to be. So hopefully that makes sense for everyone. I know sometimes when I show people the 9 steps, they get overwhelmed, and that's not the intention. We just want to take you through a framework, and it's not, it's the one that they've used at the family office for many, many years. So let's just remind everyone, step 1 is, you sit down with me, we get very clear on your long-term goals. That's what we call it, the lighthouse approach. It's the outcomes. And in simple terms, it's a one-to-one coaching session, and we get clear on, what are your top 3 outcomes, what are your top 3 priorities, and what are your top 3 measures, and we write them down. And as you know, I'm a certified coach in terms of that process. So if we take step 1, at the 6K Club, I've been doing that one-to-one. And so everyone has already had that at a one-to-one. And all that we're looking to do to evolve, and it's not relevant for all the current mastermind members, but in future, I am looking to evolve that into what I used to do, or what I learned from Roger, where at the 6K, I'll do 4-to-1, and at the 12K, I'll do 1-to-1 in terms of that process. Because one of the biggest bottlenecks for me is that when I sit with people 1-to-1, it's 2 hours of time, and it's, etc. It doesn't involve any of the current members. I'm just letting you know where we're going. Step 2 is the investment solution. So this is where you go on the platform, you get signed up on the platform, you learn how to do your KYC and fund your wallet, etc. And so what we've got there is where Shanika onboards the 6K members, and then the 12K members is where Alex onboards. You'll notice I'm not even talking about the 24K, because that's effectively where someone's handed over lock, stock, and barrel to the family office, and it's all done for you. Then step 3 is the investor profile. So this is all about the Enneagram and wealth, and everything to do with the Enneagram and wealth. Bianca introduced the resilience training. And so a lot of people have been through the Enneagram, then you got the Enneagram and wealth, and now we got the resilience training. And so we've put in quite a lot more detail here. And what I want to do, Bianca, if you don't mind, is I'm sharing my screen so people can see it. But what I'm going to do is stop sharing my screen so that people can see you properly. And if you wouldn't mind just talking through, what is the difference in terms of, let's call it the 6K and the Enneagram Report Light, the Enneagram and Wealth, and the One Feedback, and then the more advanced that you've got within the 12K, and starting to emulate a lot more of what you do at the family office level.
For sure. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to see all the familiar faces. It feels like family by now. It's been a lovely journey with all of you, and many of us have met online. I know many of you have kind of already started your Enneagram of Wealth journeys, so lots of you will kind of know this information, but I think it's always good to recap. So, as Scott says, we filtered in different value adds in the different tiers and gates per the Mastermind and Wealth University. And one addition, and an exciting addition for this for going forward, is the inclusion of that resilience questionnaire. It really just opens up an entirely different sort of end, to what we're doing. The Enneagram of Wealth itself, is something that's included in the 6K package. Scott, I hope I'm getting the tiers right. With the entry level package,
I can share it for you. Let me share it so that people can see what you're talking to. So
yeah, it might be nice for everyone to kind of have a look and see what I'm talking about. So I can see what I'm talking about. So in terms of the 6K Club, as you can see there, we've got our standard Enneagram report, the Enneagram Light, with the Enneagram of Wealth report and feedback session. So this is where you would go and do your Enneagram assessment through IEQ9. You would then get your 23-page Enneagram report that details, your Enneagram. It looks at our various patterns, our various behaviors. And this is sort of our general Enneagram of Wealth. Wealth, where you will then receive a 1 hour feedback session with us, as well as your Enneagram of Wealth Investor Report, which is kind of also a light version. It gives you an overview in terms of, your relationship with money. For those of you that are new here and are not sort of fully au fait with the Enneagram of Wealth, we've sort of through what we do, Calio Capital and Calio Consulting, it's become blatantly obvious, and we all know this. Money is an emotional thing. Your personality shapes your financial destiny. So the Enneagram of Wealth really looks at sort of revealing the hidden patterns and behaviors that drive our relationships with money. We want to be able to break limitations. We want to be able to overcome blind spots. We want to make smarter financial choices. We want to build lasting prosperity, and this comes through balance, and intuition, and the strategic awareness that is offered through the Enneagram of Wealth program. It very much, the Enneagram shapes how we think, how we act, how we feel in general in life, this revealing these patterns, understanding ourselves, getting to that level of consciousness. The Enneagram of Wealth, very much looks at how we think, feel, and behave around money, whether we're building it, whether we are managing it, or whether we're blocking it. It really gives us this lovely insight into our hidden patterns driving our financial decisions, the unconscious kind of beliefs and fears and motivations that shape our relationship with money. And by understanding your type, your Enneagram type, and I mean, it's so much more nuanced than that. Those of you who've worked with us will know this. But it allows you to kind of break free from those limiting beliefs, develop a healthier mindset around abundance to be able to create financial success kind of on your own terms, obviously walking the journey, with us and with Wealth Migrate. So this is kind of where that journey starts, and the Enneagram of Wealth really does give us that perspective. So after this, with the 6K Club, it will be your general feedback session and your Enneagram of Wealth report. We then move on to the 12K Club, and this is where you will receive your full Enneagram report, which is a much more extensive report. It's a 42-page report. You will then also do your 1 hour feedback session with us. You will then receive a more extensive investor profile that we call it, that is succeeded by that 6K Club report. And this is very much what we focus on in that feedback session. So it is a sort of a tailored Enneagram of Wealth feedback session. And along with this, we also do what we call our resilience questionnaire. And resilience is something that is very often overlooked by a lot of people. I think we underestimate kind of what clicks into action in those times of adversity, in those times of challenge. How do we show up in those times? How do we come forward, and how does this kind of manifest in us in terms of our behavior and in terms of the way we approach things? So the PRQ, which is the Pro Resilience Questionnaire, really kind of introduces this concept of resilience muscles. Those mental and emotional capabilities we develop over time, for better or for worse, to withstand and recover from life's challenges. So, just like physical muscles, the resilience muscles they grow stronger and stronger the more that we use them. We work with several different muscles that are sort of key to developing this resilience that comes out in this report. By practicing and strengthening these resilience muscles, we manage stress better. We face adversity with more confidence. We, emerge from challenges a little bit more empowered. So it really is, it helps to identify which of these resilience muscles kind of need attention. And through our feedback session, following this questionnaire that you will do, which is very similar to the Enneagram of Wealth, it's a link that you get, you do your assessment online, we get sent the report, and then we help you to identify kind of which of these muscles need attention and guide you in building them, for greater growth, for personal resilience, for how do I handle adversity? How do I approach challenges, particularly around wealth and our mindset when it comes to wealth? So that's really the sort of the difference in the two clubs for us, from the 6K to the 12K. We have, it again, as Scott says, it's something that's evolving over time. It's something that has become a really beautiful organic process, actually. And we're finding that often we'll do, our feedback session with one of our 12K Club members or one of our 6K Club members, and they want more, so we are currently building out programs where we can actually embark on a coaching journey with people. Everybody is different. Everybody views this journey differently. Everybody wants a different thing out of this journey. So we do like to kind of work with our clients and tailor make their experience for them as well. So, whereas some people are very happy to do their feedback, they do their 1 hour feedback, they get their investor profile, they then sit with Anthony. And I mean, aside from for the client and for yourselves as club members being, having access to this wealth of information around myself and how I view wealth and my relationship with money, it's hugely helpful to the advisors as well. From Anthony's perspective, being able to have a kind of a cheat sheet, on the people he's sitting with allows him and the rest of our advisors to cut through kind of months of clutter in terms of getting to know, the human behind all the numbers and behind the spreadsheets and the black and white. We are people, and wealth is hugely emotional. And these investor profiles really give the advisors incredible insight as to how this particular person might approach money, or where their tendencies might lie, or where their risk profile might lie, based on their Enneagram report and investor profile. So it really is beautiful insight into that person, and helps them. It's certainly not prescriptive, but it assists them in building that investor profile and that portfolio. So we often then have people who our clients will say to us, "We'd really love you to sit in on our first session with Ant." So we will then, coach and assist in sort of co-facilitating that first session so that we get the full benefit out of that investor profile. We then have people who have asked if they can have continuous sort of wealth coaching in terms of their Enneagram, and their approach to wealth. So it really is, as I say, it's a very organic process at this point in time. We are happy to tailor make to your preference and to your, what you're wanting to get out of the journey. But that forms the basis, what you're looking at now, those two clubs forms the basis of our offering from Callio Consulting side.
And I think Bianca, just to reiterate, what is important here is that when I came down and I sat with you and Karen in Stanford, and you'd just done a week with the Callio, I get all these names wrong, Callio Capital team, which is the family office team.
Yes.
This what you've evolved here in the 12K Club is to emulate what you're doing at the family office now. So
exactly.
It's one thing to just get the Enneagram and wealth reports, another thing to get the investor report, etc. But it's now, how do you actually integrate it into the portfolio planning, etc.? And what you basically sat down with me and you said, look, we need to do, well, Garth's actually, to my knowledge, has mandated it at the family office level.
Mm-hmm.
And you basically said, look, we need to, there's a whole bunch more that we need to do. And I said, well, that's fine. But then we need to separate between the 6K, because there's only so much we can do at that level, and then the 12K, to effectively emulate what it is that you and the family office are doing for the family office clients, is my knowledge of what you're doing. And that's why it also links in with, just to kind of give context here, we already went through it. But when we do the portfolio health check, you're checking in here with Anthony once a year and here with Garth once a year. Hopefully that's fairly self-explanatory. But the important one is the portfolio optimization, because this is where the Enneagram profile and the resilience and everything that Bianca has just said, the investor report, we should probably add all of these to this diagram, these individual circumstances, and then ultimately the plan. But what's important here is that this here in the 12K Club is emulating the rhythms that they do at the family office level, which is where Garth checks in with people annually and Anthony checks in with people quarterly. Yeah. And then they're using now this extra gravitas and substance that Bianca and Karen have put together with the Enneagram and wealth report, the investor report, and the resilience report. So I think my final comment would be, have I understood that correctly, Bianca, in terms of
yes, you have.
how you guys do it and what the difference is between the 6K and the 12K?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm here for questions if anyone needs any clarity. But exactly as you're saying, Garth is a huge believer in the Enneagram of wealth. It is something that underpins what we do at Callio Consulting, Callio Capital, the greater Callio Collective. And it is something that, as you rightly say, has been mandated that every single client that comes through the family office goes through the Enneagram of Wealth journey. We onboard them. It's part of their experience with us. And it, as I say, it's just been such a huge help to our advisors. There's such benefit to both client and advisor in terms of understanding each other, understanding where I'm going, understanding what I want, understanding where my fears might lie. And ultimately, it underpins Garth's ethos of, in the finance world, we forget the humans. We forget the humanness behind all of this. And it is, as I said in the beginning, a hugely emotional issue. Finances are wrapped up in all sorts of things, and we need to understand the human behind that. And this is Garth's mandate in terms of the family office, that all of our clients go through this process for exactly that reason.
Yeah, and so again, we basically created it to we've emulated it. That's exactly why Bianca and Amy and myself and Anthony and obviously different members in my side. Alex has been hugely involved in this as well. Is getting this very clear now, but between the two in terms of the process. So we'll come back to questions. I can see Evan, you put a question there. I'll come back to that. Let me just keep the rhythm going so everyone understands. So the next thing comes down to the wealth, lifestyle, and legacy plan. And this is where, again, at a family office level, I asked the family office, I was like, hey, who do we get to help us? And it was David Lipschitz. And David is $250,000 a family and works out in New York with American billionaires and Indian billionaires. And I know everyone else can afford him, but I couldn't. So I was like, right, what do we do? What's our solution here? And although I love the training and everything that David provided, and everyone that's part of the mastermind has access to that training, but it didn't give me a tangible, actually, I can do this, okay, in terms of that process. And then very kindly, and this is the benefit of our community, Judy actually put me in contact with Amy. And so Amy and I had a conversation, and she kindly joined us at the Wealth Weekend. And what I'm super excited is that, Amy shared her story in terms of, and let me actually, before I go there, let me share this document here. So Amy shared her story at the Wealth Weekend, and her whole story, and if you don't mind, Amy, I'm just going to paraphrase the story for people. But in simple terms, Amy's father, I don't remember the exact date, but in the 60s or 70s, put a KFC into his hotel and worked really hard, and over a couple of decades built that up into 70 plus KFCs, which is a seriously big empire of KFCs. And in the process created quite a lot of wealth within the family. And that created a lot of turmoil. I know many people sometimes would argue that they would love money to be their problem, but it did create a lot of challenges within the family. And so what was really interesting is that Amy went out and studied around the world, like literally looking for the best in the world. And to my knowledge, spent 4 years studying this. And by the way, I remember this from our very first phone call, and went and literally found the best in the world. And so if you see here, you've got step 6. So we're referring everything to step 6. We'll come back to what the solution is. But Amy basically found this group called FEET, and basically is a certified facilitator. And I did share this for all of you to be able to go and read. But what I love about it, and what we basically put together, and you can see here in the 6K Club, people have access to the online training and everything that we've done with regards to David. But in the 12K is where Amy is going to literally provide a personal consultation. She's got the Family 360 as a model. And what I'd like to do, Amy, is I'll stop sharing now. I'd love you just to kind of talk through what is FEET, what is the Family 360, and again, what is the process that someone gets, and most importantly, what's the outcome that the family is getting.
Great, thank you, Scott, and it's so wonderful to see everyone. And well done, thanks, Bianca, also for your info. I think it works so nicely as a basis into Family 360, and I'll tell you why. Because I think once you understand the individual, you can then look at now how the individual works within a family, because we all work in a system of a family, and we take our unique personalities to that family, and we have a position in that family. So what I found through doing a lot of research, and one of the lead thinkers has published a book on research about 100-year families that were successful families. And he's taken all the learnings from his research and put it into a Family 360. And what that is a questionnaire to all family members. And they then fill out the questionnaire. It's again all done online, and you get a report. And the report is unique to your family, and it gives you a roadmap in terms of the bottlenecks and the challenges and the good around your family. So it gives you it is a process that will highlight what interventions we can work together on in terms of saying, these are the things that we need to focus on and how we can go about doing that. So the benefit of the Family 360 is really clarifying the areas that we can work on together. And it's anonymous, and it's done with the whole family, and everyone feels they have a voice and they can give their opinion, and we collaborate the answers, and then I'll give feedback and provide this roadmap, which is a real treasure to the family to say how we can address the issues raised. And sometimes the families aren't even aware of this, because ideally you want to create a family where there's closeness, there's trust and connection. You want to build relationships, because all those elements impact on your generational wealth, the success of generational wealth. We all want to have multi-generational wealth families where money is passed successfully from generation to generation. And how the Family 360 does that is it builds the connection and the spaces for the family to engage, and so it can be effective and we can communicate around generational wealth.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, in terms of what you're saying, Amy, my understanding of how it works is, so there's three facilitated sessions with the family. So the first one is you get together with family, you explain what it is, who is Amy, how does it all work in terms of the process. Then the family, each person does the test in an anonymous way. Then Amy actually gets all the results and is able to come back for the second session, now understanding where where there might be challenges, etc. I know something that comes up all the time is financial literacy. How do we help our children not just hand them money, but also how do we educate them and teach them about the lingo and how to invest and all that. I'm just giving you an example of one thing. Just yesterday, someone else asked me, I've got some money, like when do I let my kids know that they're actually okay, and that but you don't want to, like everyone's got sort of different questions. The point being is that, so the second session would be then to facilitate the conversation with the different family members around kind of the report and the feedback of the report, et cetera, et cetera. And then my understanding is that the third session is where you walk now and you actually work on a roadmap and you come up with a plan in terms of like where to from here, how to implement this, which is, by the way, why step 6 is part of planning, because it's your wealth, lifestyle, and legacy plan. Because now it's not just a plan, you've already got the plan, arguably at the Calio level in terms of your own personal plan, but now this is integrating and creating a framework and a roadmap for your family plan and your legacy. Have I understood it correctly, Amy? And this is the reason I asked Bianca and Amy to join me, was so that I didn't get this wrong.
No, you've done perfectly, Scott. It's beautiful. Yeah, that's exactly what it is really just working closely with the family over those 3 sessions to come up with a concrete plan going forward that they can work with. And hopefully we can, just build on a clear roadmap for the family.
Brilliant. Awesome. So just to remind everyone of 2 tools here. I did share this with everyone, but if you want to go and read it, what we basically... Amy and I put this together, but you basically got step 6, just reminding you what step 6 is. Then it talks about the Family 360 and what it is all about. So it's not only the test, but it's the facilitated process. It then just reminds you of who Amy is and the fact she's actually certified to go through this. This is an organization out of America. They're the best in the world that she found to be able to facilitate and help with this process. And then it just explains what FEAT is all about, etc. In terms of it. So it's a short little document. It just explains it. And again, at the 12K Club, this is an offering that we've realized people want, which is this facilitated process for their family with Amy in terms of that process. So yeah, Amy, I'm super excited about this. Because this has been, I'm sure Bianca would agree with me, this has been like in the whole 9-step process has been like one gap. Like we didn't have a solution to step 6 really, other than watch recording. And so now like we've actually got a proper solution, which I really appreciate you adding this value. So thank you very much. Awesome. I'm going to just I'm actually going to chuck up a little poll while I keep talking here, because no one's ever seen Family 360 before, and I'm just interested in what people have to say in terms of this. It's a bit like what Bianca and I did a year ago, would be like, hey, are you interested in Enneagram and wealth? And when I consider, Bianca, how much has changed we literally, if you remember, Enneagram and wealth started in April, May of last year. And you consider how much it's been integrated into the family office. now in terms of our whole process and the mastermind. I mean, it's now an integral piece of the puzzle, and I've no doubt, Amy, a year from now, it'll be the same thing with the Family 360. Cool. Okay, so then the next step is step 7. So this one becomes interesting because some people like me, who is an 837, and I'm sure Bianca will back me up, there's few people in the world that get shit done like an 837. But the point being is that we all have plans, and sometimes we struggle with accountability and getting those plans done. So we go and we sit down and we do the one-to-one session, and we get very clear on what our outcomes are, and we know what our top 3 outcomes are, our top 3 priorities, and our top 3 measures. But then life kind of hits us in the face, and we tend to get busy, and it might be our business, or it might be our, if we're in corporate, or maybe it's our husband or our wife, or maybe it's our kids, or whatever it is, basically. And often what happens is you have a plan, but you're not working the plan. There's a great saying, and I think it was by who's the bloody boxer, Tyson, and he said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think what becomes so important is that, like, life is a plan. So when we go to phase 3, which is all about getting results, is that we offer 2 methodologies to be able to do it. Now, we offer this monthly accountability, which you all know how this works, hopefully. But you basically sit down, and I'm just going to go into the real live one here. But, if you go down to myself, you basically got your top 3 outcomes, your top 3 priorities, and top 3 measures, which should be updated on an annual basis. And then every month you should be checking in, like, right, what are my top 3 actions based on these outcomes, priorities, and measures? And did I do them? Yes or no? Green being done, orange being, halfway through, and red being not done at all. And then, right, what are my top 3 actions for next month? So I do that, and I copied what I learned from Roger Hamilton for 10 years, which is where I do it in a facilitated group coaching session. What I realized for myself was that I don't tell people to do anything I don't do. So I went out and I had my own coach, but she wasn't filling in the details. So we would turn up every month, and I take lots of notes, and they're all written here. But I didn't have a clear accountability schedule. So I went out and I found some software, and I literally created, I found the software, and I manipulated it for what I want for myself. So I'm the guinea pig here, just to be clear. And literally, and I went out and I said, right, if we need our top 3 outcomes, there they are. Outcome 1, outcome 2, outcome 3. And if you go down to what is my golden goal, what is my measure, etc., it's all here. So here's our annual stuff. Okay. And then basically what I did with my own coach was on a monthly basis. And I was like, hang on, I'm sure there's people that would actually like me to hold them accountable every month, for at least an hour a month, where it's like, right, what's happening? Where are you at? And so what I do every month I've got 6 people that are part of the 12K, where I sit with them and I use this template. And every month we look, so if we just take a month, where are we now? We've just had this month, February, March. We go through, what is your focus? What are your goals? What are your priorities? What's your measure? Every month we check in where we're at, and then we give a score out of 10. And then if there's blockages, we say, right, what's stopping those blockages? What are we going to do to move the needle? How do we, there's no point in, if you've got a problem, not fixing the problem. And then, right, the next month, what is your focus? So, for the month ahead, what is your focus? What are your goals? What are your priorities? What is your measure? So it gets people very clear. You don't have to have a full sheet like this. Sometimes it might be one thing, but and then so that's outcome number 1. Then you go to outcome number 2. You go through the exact same process. And obviously month on month, we do this. And then finally you go to outcome number 3. So this is just, as you know, I'm a qualified, certified coach. So this is actually what we're trained to do in terms of, obviously the group coaching is one thing, but this is the one-to-one coaching to really help move the needle in terms of that process. So that is the breakdown, the difference. So the one is the transactional group coaching at the 6K, and then the 12K is the transformational one-to-one. So if you look at it basically in terms of the breakdown, you've got the transactional group coaching and accountability, and then in the 12K you've got the 12-month transformational, and that's where it's the one-to-one with myself in terms of that accountability. And then lastly, step 8 is easy, because step 8, Anthony turns up and he does what he's just done this morning for us, which is the family office review, and where we bring in the knowledge expert. And this is where we do combine the 6K and the 12K together, because there's tremendous value in working together. And also with Anthony's time, I mean, it makes no difference. We might as well do it all together. And then step 9, in terms of investing in the deals, etc. Step 8, we all know how step 8 works, hopefully. You know, with the rhythm every month. So Anthony gives us a market update on what we need to know. We go through the portfolio construction and what does that mean. We then go through a learning session in financial understanding. We look at deals and we review and track progress. And then step 9 is just the investments. And again, at the 6K Club, people have access to Private Wealth Global and Wealth Migrate. And the 12K sort of is Private Wealth Global, etc. in terms of that. And then the final a couple of things I would say is that, you know, Private Wealth Global is about getting results safely and simply. It's a enhanced partnership between the family office and Wealth Migrate. We need to add you now, Amy, and strategic partners as well, because for us, it's a collaboration to help people get results. And when you look at it, you know, our whole idea here is that, you know, people at this level are the 6K are engaged, committed, and all in. In terms of the results, we're looking for transformation at the 6K. We're looking for mastery at the 12K, and we're looking for generational at the 24K. And then even from our results guarantee, what we are working towards is that if someone invests, we want them to earn at least 6K in passive income or portfolio growth at the 6K Club, 12K at the 12K Club, and 24K or more. So it's not just all the value adds that we've spoken about, but there's actually tangible targets. And if I don't want to overwhelm you and you put it all together, that's what it looks like, which is why I very consciously asked if we could kind of go through this in a little bit more detail. So let me just summarize for you. All of you are already part of the 6K. Some of you are already part of the 12K, but just to show you, just to make it really easy for you. So the next level of coaching, the Enneagram and Wealth, the resilience training, which leads to the portfolio construction, that's valued at about $1,000. So that's step 3. Step 4 is you would meet with Garth annually. I must admit, Bianca, I have no idea how to value that, but I put it at least $1,000. I mean, it's actually fairly priceless, because if you're not part of the family office, it's very difficult to get access to Garth. Trust me, I know he's the hardest guy. It's easier to get hold of Ramaphosa than to get hold of Garth. Step 5 is if you'd like to meet with Garth annually and Anthony quarterly, that is $2,000 of value in terms of that process. And then step 6, which is the facilitated Family 360. Remember, that's the test, plus there's 3 sessions which are facilitated with your family around financial literacy, communication, roadmap, and legacy with Amy. That's worth $2,000. And then lastly, for me, step 7, which is where I work with you every month for 12 months in terms of that process of the one-to-one coaching. And there's a value of that. And that's just literally a coaching rate per hour times the time and everything. Remember that with any of us, Bianca, Amy, or myself, there's preparation and stuff that happens around sessions as well. It's not just what happens in the session. So there's over 12K of value for the 12K Club. And what we are really excited about, if someone is interested, just reach out to Alex. He can talk it through. But, you know, it's what we're allowing people within the 6K is you can actually get everything we've just spoken about for the 6K. So it's an increase, an upgrade for the 6K in terms of the process. And even though you're getting 12K plus of the value, you're actually getting it for the 6K. And the challenge we do have is that all of us have constraints. So every single one of us, Anthony, Garth, Bianca, Amy, myself, we all have constraints. So we can only do it for 10 people in terms of the process. It's just, there's a constraint to it in terms of it. So just to remind everyone, you all know who Alex is, so I don't need to put that up. Step 3, it's the enhanced value that the Calio consulting team have actually built out with the family office. So there's quite a lot more that they've put together that one would get at the 12K Club. Then you've got Garth annually. You've got Anthony and Garth. So Garth annually and Anthony quarterly. In terms of that, you've got the whole Family 360 with Amy in terms of, and the test plus the 3 facilitated sessions. And then you've also got the one-to-one coaching with myself in terms of that overall process. So that's where the 12K value comes from for the 12K Club. And remember, that's on top of the value you're already getting at the 6K Club. This is the additional value at the 6K, and it's for a total value of 6K. So that is everything from my side. Does anyone have any questions for Bianca or Amy? Because they very kindly joined us, and I don't expect them to be here all day. But is there anything that I haven't asked or answered in terms of the 9 steps and the different parts of the 9 steps? Is there anything that anyone can help with? Let me just check.
So I have just said I've actually got a meeting that I've pushed out a little bit. My 7 FOMO is keeping me here though. I wanted to say goodbye to everybody. And I am absolutely available, as I said in the chat. I'm happy to answer some questions now, but please feel free to pop me an email if you've got any, this is not, things, people process things, and the Enneagram of Wealth is something you need to get your head around. So if you've got any queries or any questions, please feel free to either email me or WhatsApp me. I've put my details in the chat there as well.
Awesome, Bianca. I really appreciate your time. I know you literally in the middle of a facilitated process right now, so good. Really appreciate you joining. And I'm super excited about what you and Karen and the family office team have put together. And I really value the fact that your learnings and whatever you do at the family office, you bring back and offer to us, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, and thank you to the mastermind members. I mean, ultimately we piloted this with all of you last year, which gave us the impetus to build this into a program. So you've been a phenomenal group of guinea pigs, and an amazing sort of test group. And thank you for your openness and your honesty and your feedback. It's been incredible for us. So we're really, really looking forward to taking this forward, and building this out even further. So yeah, hit me with your questions and queries. I'm here, for whatever you might need.
Thank you, Bianca. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to skip out now. Have a wonderful day further.
Cheers, Bianca.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Marina asked a question for you, Amy, and I assume it's for you. Is there a minimum age to fill out the form with regards to children? So, like, my son is 13. I stand to be corrected, but I think Marina's son is 11. He's 2 years younger than my son. So, how does it work with primarily children under the age of 18? It's quite a good question. How do we deal with 0 to 20, 20 to 40, and 40 plus? Let's just kind of run through that quickly,
Yeah. No, so I think that the different ages add a lot of value to the process. And I do think that if your son is literate in computer and he can log on and answer the questions, I think they are simple that he would be able to do it. I could always assist. I would encourage it that we do it from, for me, for 10 upwards, there is value to hear how kids are processing, how they feel about wealth, because from that age, they start picking up and understanding and integrating. So things like chores, things about allowances, there are a lot of mechanisms we can do with young tweens, teens, and older. So I think I would definitely encourage all kids to be involved, like from 10 up, definitely.
Okay. And how do we deal with, let's call it 20 to 40, that has already started in life? I know that a lot of people with kids in their 20s and 30s that know everything. So this is a, and don't really want to get involved, or like there's almost resistance, if you call it that.
So I think this tool is a great way to get into the family, and especially older kids that do think they know and they're on their track already, because I think it shows and it highlights areas that the family need to work on. And I think we create, by the meeting with everyone and engaging with them on the value of the family 360, they do see that. I think often also young adults have ideas that they want to put forward, and sometimes they don't have that voice. So Family 360 does allow the space to start talking about things. So I think there is a lot of value, and it creates a platform to start discussing.
And I mean, if anyone else has questions, chuck them in. But I mean, I'm actually just regurgitating some of the questions I know have come up, particularly at both wealth weekends. So another one was, almost what I understand is that it's often quite hard to have a conversation around money when it's you and your kid type thing. But when it's in a facilitated environment and you've got a test to kind of, go back to, it allows for a much more proactive conversation and allows to leave with, I love the word you use, roadmap, to leave with a roadmap of a way forward. Would you mind just kind of giving an idea of how does that kind of, let's say there's tricky topics, like one that came up at the Wealth Weekend in August last year was, do you give your kids their inheritance early? Because two of the mastermind members were like, what's the point of getting my inheritance in my 50s? I needed it in my 20s and 30s,
Yeah. No, 100%. I think a lot of times parents are nervous to engage with their kids because they feel like they're giving over the decision-making power to the kids. But it really is about facilitating those discussions and giving the kids the opportunity to raise their concerns and their thoughts and discussions around these things, and knowing the theories that have been developed around inheritance, when to give money, how much to give, what's appropriate, what are some of the common mistakes that happen, what are some of the things we've learned are good, like transitions of wealth, and just sharing those things and actually discussing them with a facilitator creates just that barrier to discuss some things that we're a bit nervous to go into on our own, because we may not feel as parents we've got the answers or the understanding. And I think once you hear the theories and you get exposed to the common practices, it can become second nature to your family on how to engage with these discussions around wealth.
Cool, cool. And my last question is something that comes up all the time is this, call it financial literacy, because there's one thing to kind of set up the right structures and the plans and kind of look to hand over, but there's a whole conversation around how do we educate people and get them to understand the investment lingo and stuff. How does one facilitate that process? Again, I've heard often where there's almost resistance. It's like,
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think everyone in the process of multi-generational wealth, you need to understand the elements of managing that wealth. There are a number of resources we've got available to help upskill, depending on different ages, on how to educate kids and to see the benefit of, again, the longevity of what wealth can do in the long run. If you're creating goals and pictures and value, what does the wealth mean to our family? What is the goal? What is the strategy? If you can define those things as a family, it gives the money more meaning and more power. And I think then the next gen or the rising generation feel accountable to that goal of the family. And I think the storytelling around money and understanding how that money was created also, again, gives the rising gen that responsibility. You want children to have a stewardship mentality, that they are empowered to look after the money, and then how we do that with different tools so that they can feel empowered to be good stewards of the wealth.
Awesome. Well, Amy, I really appreciate it. We've taken a bit longer than I expected for in terms of the whole process, but I really appreciate the insight and the guidance in terms of that. And I look forward to being able to provide the solution for people that want to, I know it's been one of the biggest itches for all the mastermind members. So I really look forward to the fact that we've now got a solution moving forward for people.
Thank you, Scott, and thanks everyone for your time. I've posted also my details in the chat if anyone needs them. And just I'm going to jump off the meeting now as well, but wonderful to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it. Okay, so and just to remind people, we've also we've put together a package where if someone wants to, because it's actually been interesting. There's been a couple of people that have been referred, like Amy's been referred through Judy, and a couple of people have been referred by like-minded people, and there's so much value in that. And so, if people do refer a friend to the mastermind, then there are big value adds. So as an example, we've agreed with Amy that the Family 360, as an example, would be a value add, etc., that we could offer to people in terms of that. So if you are interested, let us know in terms of that. What I want to do now is I suggest everyone actually has a quick toilet break. Okay, so stand up, get a coffee, have a toilet break, like literally take 2 minutes if you want to. I just want 2 minutes, because what we're going to do energetically now is we're going to pivot to exponential technology and exponential organizations. I do want to give people peace of mind and comfort that I knew today would take long. I didn't know how long it would take, because I knew Anthony would have trouble going through the markets, and I knew that with Bianca and Anthony and Amy, we would go through that in terms of that process. So I'm going to do it now for those that have time. I've worked really hard on this presentation, so I can guarantee you it's one of the better ones I've ever done. But I'm also going to redo it next week, probably on Wednesday evening. On Tuesday evening. I'll do it on Tuesday evening. Either Tuesday or Thursday. I'll look at my diary quickly, but I will definitely do it next week again. So if you need to bounce, you've got an important work meeting you need to go to, I will redo it live for you. because I think this is so important. I mean, the future is technology, artificial intelligence, and where businesses are going in this whole exponential organizations is so critical. So if you literally, I suggest 2-minute break. I actually don't need the toilet, but I'm going to run to the toilet. And it's actually just to energetically just shift now and to really focus on the future and really what you actually need to know, because there's one saying that's going to come up in this presentation. You either get involved and use these tools and be part of organizations like this in the next 10 years, or you will be replaced. It's not a fear thing. Again, as part of the mastermind, it's all about the trends and what we need to know. And I guarantee you this will be of tremendous value to you. So 2-minute break. It is 10:46. I'm going to get going at 10:48. Give me 2 minutes.